What's going on, everyone? Eric here. Hope you're all doing good today. In this video, we're circling back to the Seine X. So I'm going to do my full review on this machine now after having it for a few months, pulling nearly 200 shots, and actually the most important thing, the price is finally public. So now I can actually give you a verdict about this machine, about its features, and whether or not it's actually worth it. There are negatives, and some of them are pretty big ones. So if you follow espresso anything online, if you're in any espresso circles, if you've ever searched for espresso on YouTube or Instagram, you've definitely seen this machine. This thing has popped up. It's been everywhere. Basically anyone with a YouTube channel that covers coffee, TikTok, or an Instagram that has anything to do with coffee, they have been sent one of these machines. The whole internet is just flooded with little short videos and 10-minute dives into this machine and first impressions and features. We've all seen them, so we know what this machine does. I'm proud to say that I was actually the first person on YouTube to make a long-form video about this machine. So yeah, Self 5. One thing to know, the very first thing to know is, though you're gonna see a lot of videos about this machine online, I am covering the US version of this machine. So there is a European version and a Chinese version. They have different voltages, they do slightly different things. The US version is not a dual boiler style machine, and it does have a few different features as far as the menu and what you're allowed to do on it as compared to some of the other reviews that are out there. So just keep in mind, if you've seen a feature, make sure that it's a US version that you're looking at. So right in the beginning of the video, I want to get the big questions out of the way. Number one, is this machine actually any good? Yes, yeah, it certainly is good. In fact, it is crazy. Just the amount of things that it can do and how it does them, and that it does them well. I have machines that I'm reviewing all the time, constantly cycling machines in and out of my house, but I keep coming back to this one because I really do enjoy it. And I'm gonna go over those features in a minute, but I just wanna say right out of the gate, there's no like gotcha moment here. It is a good machine. So the next big question is it worth the price? And before we knew the price, it was hard to say. Initially, they were saying the machine was gonna be released around $2,000. That kind of gave me a lot of wiggle room to think like, well, it's nice, but $2,000, blah, blah, blah. So they have released the price. It is gonna be about $1,300, $1,300 sticker price. And I can say for that price, it really is a game changer because there is no other machine on the market right now for anything close to that price that can do what this machine does. The amount of features and functions and just how deep you can get into espresso this machine is mind-boggling. The only machine that comes close that's on the market right now would be something like the Decent Espresso machine, and their cheapest version starts at around $3,500. Some of their more premium versions get up to $4,000 plus. Fellow is coming out with a machine very soon that can do a lot of what this machine can do, and it is going to be $1,500, but this even allows you more control than the Fellow espresso machine. So this, if it is really going to be $1,300, is completely mind-blowing. So yes, at that price, I can say that a lot of people would be very happy with this machine. Okay, so like I said, I've already done an unboxing video and gone over the features and tested them all out in another video, but I will try to go over everything now in a kind of a quick manner without washing over anything too much. So let me just go through the list and tell you everything that the machine does. I'm gonna need my laptop for this because there is a lot. First thing to note is it comes with every accessory you need except for a knock box. Basically, in the box, it comes with anything you could possibly need to get started in espresso and some extras. So accessory-wise, you're stocked. It is an espresso machine with a built-in grinder. That's not everyone's cup of tea, but that is what this machine is. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about the grinder. One of the coolest things is that this is a grind by weight machine. So it has a built-in scale here. It is going to sense what you're grinding, and it's going to stop with a very, very good degree of accuracy the grind at the weight you set it for. And it usually gets within 0.1, 0.2 grams of the target. Has some kind of smart system in here that will cut off the grinder right before it's going to hit that weight, and it's really, really good about hitting that pretty accurately, and the scale itself is accurate. I've tested that thoroughly against other scales. The grinder itself is stepless, meaning that you have infinite settings, though it does have numbers as a guide. It has adjustable rotations per minute, so the RPMs are adjustable between 300 and 650 RPMs, so you will be able to play with that and try all sorts of different things there. The settings, the 70 settings that it has here will cover everything from Turkish, so super extra fine, all the way through a big pour over size, so pretty coarse. And most of that in the center is going to be the espresso range, so you have plenty of range here. It has conical burrs, and they are 38 millimeters, which is pretty small. Now, looking at the geometry of the burrs, the internal burr is one of the tallest burrs that I've ever seen, so it does seem to have more grinding area than your typical conical burr set. So that might give it a little bit of advantage as far as consistency, but it is still a relatively small conical burr grinder. Some people might have problems with that, but that's what it has. It has an anti-static system that works pretty well. Usually static is not messy, and there's not much clumping going on here. And I did mention it grinds by weight. It also has the option, if you want to grind by time, or you can just grind manually. You can pull this lever and you can just stop when you want to stop grinding. So you do have plenty of options. So that's the grinder. Now let's go over the espresso side of things. In the US version, it is not a dual boiler. You can only pull shots or steam milk one at a time, not simultaneously, but there is no lag time between jumping between those two things. So you do not have to let it cool off, or you don't have to let it heat up. You can just jump between steaming and pulling shots instantly. The boiler itself is a combination boiler, part thermocoil, part traditional boiler, very, very similar to what Fellow is rolling out, something that heats up fast, usually about 3-minute heat of time total, and then you're going to have the benefits of, because there is a reserve, you're gonna have the benefits of that temperature consistency, the temperature being very, very consistent and not fluctuating. So really cool technology. The group head up here is heated, which is nice. You get everything nice and hot. Good temperature consistency there. The actual brew boiler is stainless steel and is 240 milliliters capacity. You've got 2 vibratory pumps in here, so it's a dual vibratory pump. This does do a lot with different flow rates, etc. So I don't know if the pumps might have something to do with that. I'm just speculating. You've got a multiple needle point OPV in there, overpressure valve, that will that dissipates pressure very, very quickly, allowing you to do pressure adjustments on the fly. You have a dual system PID in there. A PID is a temperature regulation system that should keep your temperature accurate within 1 degree Celsius, so not bad. Of course, you have a 3-way solenoid valve. 3-way solenoid valve allows it to dissipate pressure instantly, flushing out water into the drip tray, allows it to flush out the system when it's doing cleaning cycles. Basically, keeps everything cleaner on the inside. Also allows it to do cool things like release the pressure, instantaneously when it needs to. So a 3-way solenoid valve, when maintained properly, is a really, really good thing to have. As far as once you get into the nitty-gritty of what you can do with this machine, you have both adjustable flow rates, with the maximum being around 10 milliliters per second. You also have adjustable pressure system, allowing you to do 3 bars, 6 bars, 9 bars, 12 bars, and 15 bars. So just crazy control there. The brew by weight system has a scale right here that you can use. You don't have to use it, but you can. Brew by weight system is great. It will allow you to program where you want your shot to end by weight. So if you're doing a standard formula, you did 18 grams of espresso into your basket, you set this guy up to do double that. It will cut itself off at 36 grams automatically. Really, really great. And that is always within a gram. I really, really like that system. Of course, you have a water dispenser. Just if you want to do Americanos or get some hot water, rinse out your cup. Water dispenser is always a nice thing to have. It records all of your shot data and your grinding data, meaning that you will have for a long time how that shot ran. Hey, that shot tasted really, really good. You open up a file, there it is, what it did, how many seconds it ran for, what the grind weight was, and as long as you give it a second to record, it's just in there. Really, really nice. As far as the steam wand goes, it does have a commercial style steam wand that sticks off to the side here. It has a temperature infrared reader, which is relatively accurate, but that doesn't really matter much as long as you understand how it works. You know when you're in the ballpark. It is a very, very fast, very dry steam. You don't have the rocket steam mode or the super steam mode that they have in Europe and China, but it is still a very fast steaming one that has 2 steam settings. You have a low speed and a high speed. Low speed for beginners, and even though it is over here, and I know that people have complained that you can't flush it out well, you can just move it and you can just flush it out like that because it's very articulate. Okay, so let's go over all the modes. You can do a lot of things with this espresso machine, but I'm just gonna go over all the modes right now. The first thing is that you have a standard mode, which is basically just a on-off mode. You're just gonna start applying pressure. They have a couple pressure modes you can do in there, but it's just kind of beginner mode. You will just start, stop, there you go, nothing to worry about, simple setting. The next mode is called constant mode. Gives you a little bit more control where you can set pre-infusion, you can set how long you want the pre-infusion for, and then you can set your pressure for any of the pressure options. Basically, you could program a couple profiles in there. Say you want like an 8-second pre-infusion, or you want a 6-second, or you want a really, really long pre-infusion, and then you want the bars to be low or high. Really, really nice. I use that one the most, honestly. Getting into the next mode, the variable mode, this is dense. There is no end to things you can do in this. You can program, as I've mentioned several times, the flow rate, the pressure, the pre-infusion. You can do different variations of all those things within a profile that you're programming. You can set things to hit different pressure points by the second, or you could have it hit different pressure points by the weight. While using that, you could try to mimic other styles of machines. You could make a profile that mimics a lever style machine. You could program it to saturate the puck and then run fast, like the style of espresso that's kind of hitting the internet now, soup, S-O-U-P. You could definitely do that with this machine as well. So really just infinite potential here. I will note again, like the fellow espresso machine that's coming out does give you a lot of control over the pressure, but does not give you control over the flow rates. So this is, as long as it keeps working, more advanced. Another thing is that it is just so dense, and there's so much you can do in there that I can barely wrap my head around it. And I've really only scratched the surface, but there's a lot you could do. You won't get bored. There's a manual mode in here that will allow you to adjust the pressure on the fly using a slider on the screen. This will allow you to basically do pressure profiling on the fly. Now, it would be so cool if they could utilize it so you did it with this paddle, but I imagine that's really, really hard to program. I also suspect that's why they put the paddle on here in the beginning, because they wanted to do that, but then they couldn't get it to just work right. But what this paddle does now is you can set that up to your favorite profile, and then you will just switch it on and it will just run that favorite profile, which is nice if you don't want to do all this digital stuff. You can have a little analog on off. Cool. There is one other mode that's in the standard menu, that is the brew mode. It is set up to do a pour over. There's not a great way to fit a pour over cone in here when you're brewing by weight, though online they did have their own pour over setup, which would be really, really cool if they would sell that on the side, because it would fit under here really, really nice. I was able to fit an origami into a teacup under here, and it did work okay. I will say though also that IMS and other companies do sell special brew baskets that you can put into your portafilter that are meant for making filter coffee, and for machines that can do low pressure, fast flow rates. That is what the basket is meant for. I'll link that down below if you did want one of those baskets. But yes, so there are options for brewing regular coffee on this, not just espresso. Kind of cool. It is a very ambitious machine, especially for the price. In fact, you might say that it's one of the most ambitious machines I've ever seen. I think one of the cool things about this machine is that there is something for every level of espresso maker to do on this machine. Whether you are a beginner or whether you are a huge espresso nerd, there's a lot that you can do with this machine, a lot to get excited about. One of the things that I hope they program in, or somebody comes up with an app for, would be a beginner mode, which would allow it to, because it does measure your output from the grinder, it does know your grind settings. If it would give you feedback after you pull your shots, like, hey, you need to adjust your grind coarser or finer, or take out a little bit of the weight. Just some feedback like that, I think, and I'm sure they can do that. It seems like the shareware would allow them to. Once they do that, this machine is at $1,300, cheaper than the Breville that does something similar, which is the Breville Touch and Press, which is the best machine for someone who wants cafe style espresso but doesn't want to do any work. This guy could match that, so that'd be really, really cool if they program that in. I will emphasize again that this machine's tech is the kind of stuff that's only available in a few other espresso machines, and those are at the moment really high-end espresso machines. So that is another one of the big pluses of this machine. So I will say that all those positives are with the caveat that if the rollout goes smoothly and all the machines work as well as the one that I have right here. So So I mentioned at the top of the video that there are negatives, and some of them are pretty big. So let's just get into that. So the first negative I want to talk about is the grinder, kind of an obvious one. The grinder, if you're an espresso enthusiast, if you're a big coffee nerd, you don't want a built-in grinder. So that is a negative, but that's obvious. The performance of the grinder itself, however, has had a few issues for me. And somewhere they started becoming apparent around 125 shots or so after about 2 months of use. So one thing I noticed is that, like I've said in the beginning, this is a stepless grinder, and with a stepless grinder, without clicks, without clicks where things click into place, things do tend to drift a little bit. That happens with a lot of stepless grinders. That is a regular problem. But because this machine is geared towards beginners, that might cause some frustration for people. If you are an espresso aficionado, if you are a big espresso person, you're kind of used to fiddling and fine-tuning, but it is a little frustrating. So that is one thing I noticed. Because there's not settings on the dial here, there's no actual numbers on the dial, you won't be able to see that it's drifted. And here's the thing, is that these, sometimes when it does drift, the numbers are on the display here on the little screen. Those don't always correlate. It doesn't notice that things are drifting. You can sync it up again. You just have to unspool the grinder all the way to the loosest place, and that actually is also how you clean it. If you loosen it all the way out, then the mechanism releases. You can take the burrs out, clean it out. And I feel like if you are cleaning your burrs weekly, this won't be a big problem because you're going to be making sure everything's synced up by doing that at the same time. But just something to look out for, that the grinder does tend to lose its settings. The next thing is that, and this is another problem, especially if you are a big espresso enthusiast, it gets hot. The grinder does get very, very hot. And a big part of that is because it's up here with a lot of equipment. You've got a boiler in here, you've got a heated group head, you've got a lot of cables and tubing in here that are all getting hot. It heats up the grinder, but the grinder itself also does seem to heat itself up a bit. Yeah, it's going to get hotter, and heat does affect flavor. Not a huge issue if you're not huge into drinking things black and straight, and probably not a huge issue unless you're making multiple shots back to back every morning, but still, it is a negative. The next set of issues involves the water tank and I'm sure you've heard about these if you watched other reviews, the water tank and the actual drip tray here. Number one, the drip tray does, it's hard to get set, and when you do put it in there, you want to make sure you put it in all the way, and you're going to want to kind of tug on it to make sure it's set. If not, you're going to not have it in the right place, and the outlet where it does purge water from will end up all over your counter. So here is the first problem, or annoyance I should say. Whenever you do remove this to add water, if your machine is still on, it's going to inevitably purge water onto your countertop, which isn't a big deal for everyone, but if you leave your machine stationary, you might not notice. Water underneath things is never a good thing, could lead to mold. If you have wooden countertops like me, it could lead to wood damage. So just know that if you have it on and you are going to empty this drip tray, it's gonna purge onto your countertop, and you have to find a very small item to put under there to catch the water. I found a little silicone pouch that I put under there. It's almost like a Ziploc bag that I put under there when I do it. So let's get into the problems with the water tank. A lot of people have mentioned this. Water tank is underneath. It's in an awkward spot for people. That's good because it's a heavy machine, and if you have it backed against your countertop, you don't want to have to get one from the back. So that is a kind of positive negative for people. The problem with it being here, however, number one, you have a kind of a small entry point to add your water. I add water by using a kettle, like my pour over kettle, not a big deal. One problem is that with these, unless you have water with a high mineral content, which isn't always recommended for espresso machines, the sensor, which does sense things through by running a current through the water, will not notice that there is water in there, so it's going to constantly tell you that you're out of water. And you can bypass that. You can turn off the water detection in the menu, but then this problem happens where you run out of water, you didn't notice that your water was getting low, and then you start running a shot dry, and that's not good for the pump, that's not good for a lot of things, so that's something to look out for. The way that it connects is silicone tubing here. Super annoying when you first get the machine to attach. It took me actually over half an hour to get mine on, and because if I didn't get it on properly, it was dripping and leaking. And I actually got like blisters on my fingers. I got blisters on my fingers! I got blisters on my fingers from trying to attach this. Now, I have since recently discovered that these little ports are removable. You can take out the whole valve, and I'll show you right now how I do that. So you just twist them out, pull them out, and then you can put it all the way back in, compressing the spring, and twist it back in. That's also helpful, besides the first time when you have to attach the tubing, that's also helpful for cleaning the water tank. You do want to clean your water tank about once a week at least, scrub it out really, really good, because if not, you're definitely going to get something grody growing in here, and that is never nice. Now, speaking of this tubing, this was the biggest problem I encountered. The big problem I encountered is because of the issue with it sometimes sucking up air because I didn't notice that the water tank was getting low. Also because of the positioning of the water tank, sometimes little fragments of espresso are going to get in there. It's underneath the grinder. You're adding water, there's espresso dust, there's other things. It's going to get in there and it might get sucked up. And I actually got mold in my lines. Before you speculate, I definitely clean my machine. I do a cleaning cycle weekly with the citric acid that they recommend. That didn't touch it. I also did all sorts of other traditional descaling agents. I did more heavy duty espresso cleaning things. None of them touched the mold that I had growing in my lines, and that was super scary and super frustrating. Not something I want to be drinking. I even contacted Maxim about it, and they kind of gaslighted me about it, which was not cool. So anyway, in the end, what I ended up doing is I did remove the tubing. I purchased a extra long pipe cleaner that was the right size for it. That also made me nervous. I didn't want to break anything, and I didn't end up having to clean the lines that way. Like I said, I'm really, really good about keeping the machine clean. I'm really, really good about running cleaning cycles. I've gone on a few week-long trips. One of them was to Hawaii to test out Kona coffee in person. And I would always run a cleaning cycle before I left and when I got back. So it's not like there was dirty water sitting in the machine. No matter what but there's no way to really drain the machine for long-term storage. And a week isn't that long, especially if you're running cleaning cycles back and forth. It was kind of a thing, and it really made my machine sit alone and not get used until I could sort it out. I didn't like it. I will link the pipe cleaners that I bought down below just in case anyone else runs into this problem. It is something to look out for. Even when listing all those negatives, I gotta say that I still like to use this machine every day. I still really get a lot out of it. Nothing's perfect, and there are a few other things that I would change, just nitpicking here. I would like to see pads on the portafilter holder under the grinder, because I feel like this powder coating on the metal will eventually start to wear off. In fact, on mine it is a little bit, so I would like to see like silicone pads on here, just something to protect it. Of course, those tubing that I was talking about, I would like to see a quick connect system both to the actual water tank and in the back where they go in there. I feel like those should be just quick connect on both sides so you can take them off and keep them clean. Also, because they hang out the back on such a very nice and beautiful, stylish machine, I feel like there should be better management for those tubes. Maybe if there was a place where they clipped in underneath so they didn't hang out the back. I just feel like it kind of ruins the look when you have it out in your kitchen and people can see the front and the back. I have a couple problems with the UX system here, the interface. Basically, you know, when it's a silly thing, but when you start a shot in a few of the modes, you click a nice big circle start, and then if you want to stop it or restart it, you don't click on the same spot anymore. It goes down to a little rectangle on the bottom. This is just a minor thing, but I feel like that they could do a better job designing that software so that it's a little bit more tactilely satisfying when you're using it. Another thing that I will nitpick here is that the programming is tedious and a small screen, and you know, it's kind of hard to see what you're doing, and there's like a lot of little boxes and stuff. And though it works perfectly well, I feel like there should be a better way. And once they release the app that goes with this, I'm sure that it'll be a little bit easier to program things. But as it stands right now, it's just kind of like a little tedious and small, and I really would like another option. I do look forward to the app coming out because one, I feel like it will allow you to explore the programming side a lot more easily. And two, I'm really hoping that as a community grows, you'll have a lot more plug and play options where someone's like, hey, I made this cool profile that's perfect for light roast Ethiopians, or hey, I programmed in a profile that's exactly like this kind of lever machine, and you could just like pop, hit it on your phone and then try it out, because we're not all espresso scientists here, and honestly, there's only so many experiments I can do personally where I'm wasting coffee and other resources. So I would really, really love to hear smarter people than me and their ideas and the programs that they come up with. So I think the biggest change that I would make personally would be that there would also be a standalone machine without the grinder. I assume that if the rollout on this machine goes well, that there will be a standalone machine in development because so many people will want this machine if it was $1,000 without a grinder. I mean, wow, that would be great. But I do feel like there is a standalone in development, though it's just speculation. On my manual that comes with it, it says Seine and Sonnet. So I am thinking that the Sonnet might be a standalone machine that they're developing. And honestly, that would be pure poetry if they developed it. All right, my worries about this machine are basically all around the company, because it's a complete unknown. Who knows how well this machine will last over a number of years. There's so much tech in here. There's so many moving parts, and there's so much software in here that, of course, compared to a mechanical machine, there's a lot that could go wrong. Now, if they stick the landing, if the rollout goes well, if people really respond to this machine, and the company that develops this stands strong, then as long as they have service centers in the US and lots of tutorials about how to do things online, then I won't have any fears. But that we won't know that for a number of years. We won't know how it goes until it goes, right? So final verdict, very, very exciting machine. Sticker price, what it can do now, absolutely amazing. Just blows everything out of the water in that price range. Just a machine that can do everything for the simplest espresso maker to the most advanced. Yes, it's not perfect. No machine is. Yes, there are lots of things to change about it. Every machine has those things. I can say it's a very exciting machine. It's still expensive, but for what it can do, it is cheap. Now, does it need to be in everyone's kitchen? Do you need all this machine? Do you need all these features? That's really up to the individual. But as for me, I really enjoy using it. I enjoy how consistent it is, how sturdy it is. I do enjoy this machine, even though I have had a number of troubles with it. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really, really appreciate you, especially if you stuck it through the end. If you did make it all the way to the end of the video, please leave me a comment. Let me know that you did. Please, if you get a second, give me a like, subscribe, all that stuff. If you want to support the channel, those are the best ways to do it. Another way to support the channel is to check out some of my t-shirts. There's a link down below in the description. If you wanted a geeky espresso shirt, like my Under Pressure portafilter one, hand-drawn, then you could check that out. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Have a good day. I'll see you all later. Bye. Bye.